Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All right, Noodles. Jamie McLennan joins us now from TSN. Jamie, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm not too bad. How are you guys doing? And I'm in a hotel room in Denver. And I didn't realize this picture is like, there's only half of it or something weird's happening. And all I could think about is when I landed in Denver last night, isn't this the capital of like the Illuminati? Isn't there some sort of like weird like rumors and stuff about the Denver area, the Denver airport, especially being the hub of the Illuminati? So you never know. I don't know if I'm being watched or whatever, but I slept in my clothes on top of my bed last night just in case.
Jamie, what the hell are you talking about
here? You've never heard that online?
I have heard the expression, and honestly, I don't know. I'll look it up. I thought you were going. Do you remember there was a couple of episodes of Breaking Bad where Walter White was obsessed with generic paintings in offices and hotel rooms? It wasn't. Maybe they weren't the best episodes. I'll look it up and we'll figure it out.
You have to Google it because now you're making me sound like a weird person. You're making me sound like an old goalie. There you go.
No, it's all on me for not knowing that. I should know that. So Ottawa's in Colorado. That's why you're there. You're doing that game. What went wrong with DJ Smith, and what's in the future for that hockey team?
Well, let's work backwards here. As I mentioned, I'm in Denver, and they're going to get a slightly crabby Denver team as well because they lost to Chicago 2 nights ago, and Devon Toews called out their team. So if you look at Ottawa's, we'll call it, death march here. This road trip was a 5-game road trip. Now, it started in Ottawa. They lost to Carolina after Carolina lost to Vancouver. Carolina had lost 4 in a row. Vancouver beat them. They had a closed-door meeting. The coach called them out. So they go into Ottawa and they whip them. Then Ottawa starts in St. Louis. St. Louis had just fired their coach, so they get the new coach bump, and Ottawa loses that night. Back-to-back situation into Dallas. Dallas is a top-tier team, so you're not going to win that one. So 2 nights later, you go into Vegas, and Vegas is pissed off because they've lost to Buffalo 2 nights later. So Vegas ends up handing you a 6-2 loss. And then into Arizona, you get the new coach, and you're feeling pretty good. You're up 3-0, and you hand it away in the third period. So it has been a tough road trip for them. And then, as I mentioned, into Denver here tonight to finish the road trip against a very crabby team. So you could see it. It was like a slow burn, a slow bleed out somehow for head coach DJ Smith. This team is a very talented team, but has lots of pockets of non-confident play. There's always one thing that will, on any given night, that will kill them, where they just can't recover. It's been bad goals. It's been untimely penalties. Their power play hasn't been as potent as they were last year. Their top players have been getting points, but not the critical points where you need it at big time. So I'll give you an example. The other night in Arizona, you're up 3-0. The goaltending was fantastic. Korpisalo was brilliant. And Arizona scores right near the end of the second period. And I remember thinking, okay, how is this team going to react? And early in the third, Arizona just poured it to them. And you could see them panic. Instead of relaxing and playing, they went the other way. And the game-winning goal got kicked in by Travis Hamonic. He couldn't do it again if he tried on the back door. And that's kind of how things have unfolded. So I look at it, the maturity level of this group, the confidence level of this group is not there. And it's being exposed nightly, and that's translated to a 5-game losing streak and a coach being fired.
On the other side of the country, although you're in the western side right now, what do the Canucks have in the goaltending tandem of Thatcher Demko and Casey DeSmith, who we didn't know a whole lot about before this season?
Top-tier tandem. You guys know I've said it on this show before. I've always felt Thatcher Demko would win a Vezina. I've always believed in him. I think he's a brilliant goaltender. He had all the makeups or all the makings of a top-tier goaltender. He's showing it this season. The sneaky move is DeSmith because obviously Jimmy Rutherford would have a history with him, and he prizes him and gets him out of Pittsburgh, gets him involved, and I think he's a perfect 2. Because he's more of a tandem goaltender, but in the Demko situation, he has to be a 2 because Demko is an elite goaltender that can give you the 55 to 60 games, which is rare in this league. I think there's only 5 or 6 guys like the Hellebucks, like the Vasilevskis, like Markstrom when he's healthy, guys like that can play every night, Shesterkin, Sorkin. So I look at Demko as a top-tier goaltender, but then DeSmith is a talented guy who, by all accounts, again, I don't know him, is a great teammate, understands his role, and instead of pouting, goes, I'm going to maximize it. Every time I get in the net, I'm going to be really good. And it started game 2 against the Edmonton Oilers in Edmonton, because as much as Vancouver had really woodshedded him in that first game, I thought Edmonton played really well in that second game of the series. And I thought DeSmith was the difference. I thought he was brilliant when he needed to be. And then, of course, they got timely scoring. So they've got a great tandem, knock on wood for health, because that's always a concern. But I would argue they have one of the best tandems in the National Hockey League, just based on where they slot and how good they're playing to their capabilities, both of them.
But, Jamie, talk about the importance of the rest that DeSmith gives Demko, because Demko played 64 games 2 years ago. He doesn't have to do that anymore. You don't want to play your goaltender 60-plus games in a season. But talk about the rest and everything, all the benefits of having a good backup.
Well, there comes trust now, because what happens is I'll go back and even take a shot at myself. I heard you guys coming in. Roberto Luongo played 75 games the year I was there in Florida. Yeah. With them. And, gone are the days where you're seeing a guy play 70 plus, where the backup goalie was just a space filler. I literally, okay, we got to give Louis a night off. Let's hope the guy can win, type of thing. That's not the case. And that's kind of what I was alluding to with DeSmith is DeSmith is giving Demko those nights off, but he's giving quality minutes. So if you get Demko at 55 games and not have to press him to 64, you're getting more quality games out of Demko, because there is some space in between those games and he can prepare. And, Ian Clark and the goaltending staff there are fantastic. So I look at that whole situation, and it is perfect because DeSmith can take critical minutes off of Demko. And it's not I wouldn't say it's a healthy competition, because Demko's the man. But what it does is on a night where maybe the coaching staff's like, yeah, we probably should go with Demko. If you've got a really good guy in the two slot, then they feel comfortable putting him in. Where in other situations, big games, if you've got a big weekend against interdivision rivals, you're like, okay, we're going to run them both nights. Or, if it's a Friday, Sunday, where you can trust to go to the other guy and not feel like there's going to be a huge drop-off in play. So that's why I call them. I think I'm trying to just scan in my mind like top-tier tandems in the league. Vancouver's got to be one of them. If they're not one, they're in the top 3 for sure. I think the Islanders love Varlamov, but Varlamov is 35 now, and I would argue that DeSmith is doing just as good a job, if not better, in Vancouver than Varlamov is with the Islanders.
Jamie, I'm watching that Leafs-Columbus game, and Columbus up 5-0, and do you think Elias Samsonov is the guy there? I mean, his goals against is high. His save percentage is not good. It's under 9. What are your thoughts? What's going on with the Leafs goaltending?
Well, I mean, Martin Jones is playing every night for them right now, and he was. I thought it was a really sneaky move by Brad Treliving. And if you look at his deal, there was some sort of baked-in bonus that had to be paid out the day he went on waivers. So teams are looking at it going, okay, we got to write this guy a $250,000 check just to get him into our lineup. So they got him to the minors, and it's proven to pay off because, Samsonov has been wildly inconsistent, wildly. Yeah. And he's a guy that kind of wears his emotions. And the only other goaltender I can think of that is so honest in the media, sometimes it's cringeworthy, is Jack Campbell. Because when Jack was in Toronto and Jack was in Edmonton, Jack would have an off game and he'd say, I suck, I feel brutal, all of this stuff. And I don't think that bodes well for the confidence of the group.
Right.
And what I mean by that, I'll watch Hellebuck give up a 7-pack. And he'll say after the game, I felt great, just didn't go well. And he move on to the next game. I wish I had that confidence as a player. And Hellebuck is one of the best on the planet. But I look at Samsonov, and every time he's speaking, it's like, he's I don't feel good. I'm not there yet. And if you're sitting in that dressing room, you're sitting on the bench and watching this guy give up goals, there's a trust factor. Even if it takes 5 or 10% off of your confidence in the goalie, going, maybe I don't try that play because I don't trust what's going on back there, it affects the team. So I was thinking about this yesterday, and this is where Vancouver has the luxury of not having to deal with this problem because they've got stability in net. There are 5 or 6 organizations that I guarantee you are dying for a goaltender. Yeah. And, it's Edmonton. It's Carolina signed Aaron Dell to a PTO the other day. They had, it was situation. Jaro Halak was on a PTO with them that they released. Like they waive Antti Ranta. So Carolina, Toronto would be a situation. I think LA Kings don't have a goaltender under contract for next year. LA's a top tier team. If they added somebody, they might be serious. You look around the league, there's 5 or 6 teams that, Edmonton needs a goaltender for sure. I mean, it's Skinner and Pickard, and Pickard's a nice guy, but, he's more better in the 3 hole. And I think Skinner is not a number 1. So you look around the league and who's available. I don't know. That's the challenge. Like what's the magic bullet for some of these teams? But Vancouver doesn't have to worry about that because they've got 2 top tier goaltenders that slot perfectly. But I think the Toronto Maple Leafs, if they want to be serious, they might have to try and upgrade in that situation, try and add a little bit more stability to that position.
And quickly, Jamie, Roberto Luongo, your friend from your days in Florida, what went through your mind when you saw his name unveiled in the Canucks Ring of Honor last week?
I watched it on my computer because I was calling a game. A lot of pride. I laughed when he said his favorite goaltender partner, I think, was Schneid's, which a few people took a few shots at me on Twitter, which, the thing is Roberto Luongo, you guys know how much I loved him as a person, as a player. I mean, he's still a dear friend. I went to his Hall of Fame induction. It was really great. I thought his speech was unbelievable, yes. We're in the media, and I think we all speak pretty well. Like Louis, you could tell, he didn't have I was looking at, does he have crib notes? What's he doing? And he's just speaking from the heart. I loved the speech, and it was brilliant. And you could tell how much he was loved in Vancouver. I was fortunate enough to go and when they made the finals and watch a few games and be there live in the building. And he had an amazing career. So I thought the Canucks did an amazing job. I thought the fans were awesome. It was just the perfect scenario. And Louis, just the way he articulated it, it was awesome. I loved it. There was no negativity coming out of that whatsoever.
The Illuminati goes back centuries to Bavaria. Are the supposed overlords controlling the world's affairs operating secretly as they seek to establish a new world order?
Wow.
I got that right?
Well, all I remember about the Illuminati was the Tom Hanks movies, was the Angels and Demons and Da Vinci Code.
Oh, okay, right. Okay.
But I always thought it was in New York City. Then you dig into it, and apparently it's in Denver somewhere. So, let's hope I don't disappear before I call the game tonight.
Okay. Well, yeah, or before you're on the show again.
Yeah.
More importantly.
Exactly.
Jamie, thanks for this.
Thanks for having me, guys. Great to see you.
I appreciate it.